Look at this little fella right here. Oh, this little guy right here. Y'all remember him, don't you? He's one of the best. Maybe we should talk about how to nurture him a little bit. It's alright, little baby. What's up, guys? Kage coming back at you with another tutorial today, and we're going to talk about OBS settings and what they mean for you as a streamer. Sometimes you guys feel like you can talk to animals. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of like a dolphin or something. Alright, my bad. I had a little moment right there. You know how it goes, right? Anyway, back to what we were talking about. OBS, right? So whenever you download OBS, it kind of auto configures it for you based on the settings that you input as soon as OBS loads up. I would suggest changing these according to your computer, your processor, your GPU, and your internet speed. So let's go through these together and we'll see which ones best fit you and your computer. So let's go to OBS. So what you want to do is click File at the top right and then go into Settings. Main two that you're going to focus on is Output and Video. Let's go to Output first. So you have streaming settings, recording settings, audio, and replay buffer. So you have your type, which is standard. I don't ever change that. You can set whatever custom path you want. I have mine set to my videos, so I know that it goes to that folder every single time. And then you have your recording format. Recording formats pretty much let you choose what type of file you're going to record in. MKV is what I choose because if you choose MP4 and say something happens like a blue screen of death or a power loss from a storm or anything like that, the files are actually non-recoverable. And I'll show you what I mean by clicking on it. If you click MP4, you actually get this warning right here. And you can go ahead and read it out loud if you want to, whatever you want to do, but it's pretty much just warning you that if you choose MP4 that you won't be able to recover the files if anything happens to them. So I suggest using MKV, and I'll show you how to set OBS to automatically remux your recordings to MP4 for you, so that way you don't even have to do anything later in the video. Next is going to be your encoder. So encoder pretty much just means how the video gets encoded. For graphics cards that are a 10 series and higher as far as NVIDIA goes, I would suggest using NVIDIA NVENC. If you have a GPU that's a little lower than that though, you can actually use the other option, which is X264. And pretty much it just means that instead of your GPU doing the encoding, your CPU will do the encoding for you. If you have a really beefy CPU, then maybe this is your option to go with anyway. It really just depends on which way you want to balance your workload. Next, I would leave rescale output the same. You don't really need to mess with it unless you want to change your output. Let's say your monitor can't handle 1080 for some reason, then you can scale it down if you so choose so. Keep your rate control at CBR, and then this is where things are going to get a little interesting. So bitrate. Bitrate is the way that your processor or your encoder is going to process information and at what speed it's going to be able to process this information. If you have an upload speed of around 10 megabytes per second, then you should be fine with going about 4500 to 5500. That's the good sweet spot for a 1080 video. And of course you can lower that down. Say you want to record in 720 for an example, you can actually lower your bit rate down some more, and the sweet rate about is 3500 or less for 720p. Say like your sole purpose is your video is only going to be on a phone, and phones usually only scale up to 720p, then you can lower this if it's having problems with your PC processing it. So since I'm streaming in 1080 myself, I'm going to keep my bit rate at about 5000, and that's in between 4 and 6, 6 being the max, 4 being the least. After you get done setting your bit rate and finding which one works for your PC, this next one is a preset. I would suggest running it at least quality. Max quality obviously is going to be the better looking quality of your videos. I would suggest going between max performance and performance, and then you can determine which one kind of fits better for your PC without your CPU usage going through the roof. And then of course next you want to keep this either on main or high. The profile is just the way it diverts its resources towards the project. Of course the look ahead I keep unchecked. The psycho visual tuning I go ahead and check. You can also Google it if you want to look more into what is psycho visual tuning. I leave it on because I've noticed a difference in quality if I uncheck it. Next you leave your GPU at 0, and then your max B frames at 2. I am running a NVIDIA GTX 1660. If you have a graphics card that is a little more outdated than that one, then I would suggest messing with these settings to find kind of your sweet spot. Moving on to the audio tab right here, I only have a Yeti Nano plugged in, as you can see, and so that is the only auxiliary that I have turned on. My desktop audio is set to default, that way it records the sounds coming from my desktop audio. I keep it at 46 kilohertz, and also I like the channels to be set to stereo. Most things are in stereos nowadays. We don't live in the prehistoric age anymore with SpongeBob. Unga bunga. A little bit of information that I wanted to touch on with you guys is the video setting. So my monitor is a 1920 by 1080 native resolution. So for you guys, it depends on the size of which way your monitor scales or which way you want the video to scale in general. Most videos nowadays for YouTube are definitely 1920 by 1080. Now, if you're streaming in 4K, then of course your native resolution is going to be higher than that. And if you want to stream lower, you can of course just click this little drop down right here and adjust it to what you want. And usually I would leave that between 60 or 30 depending on what kind of device you're using. And then one last little bit of information is the hotkey. Pretty much turns OBS into a Stream Deck for you in a sense. All you have to do is simply click the plus, click the key, it'll add whatever key, click the plus on stop, add the same key, and then it'll turn it on and off. I would suggest setting your hotkeys, especially when you're doing something that you don't really have the time to sit there and click on everything. It makes it much faster. And that's pretty much going to wrap up the tutorial, guys. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this video actually taught you something about recording settings in OBS, so that way you can set them to however you want to make your videos look even better than they already are. If you don't mind, give me a like and a sub. Hit those buttons because they really help the channel grow. They help the algorithm to promote this content, help it reach the people that it needs to reach, and help more content creators out there in the world. And thank you so much for the continued growth. 400 subs. Y'all showing out here. Anyways, y'all have an awesome day, and me and the kitty are gonna go play some games.